The Uganda we want. So mu Uganda gye twagala mu lutalo luno olw'okulwanyisa obulabbayo obukenuzi nze kyempita obuvundu. Munna Uganda alina okuba nga yeenyigiramu.
Ffenna twenyigire mu lutalo.
Ate abalala tebasomye kuzimba wabula bayize okuzimba.
Uganda gye twagala okulaba ng'enguudo zonna nkole nungi, public transport nga weeri.
Kati eno gavumenti eriwo erina akabonero ka Lucifer. Buli kyotunulako mu Uganda kiriko oxygen. Either babika amawulire malungi oba mawulire mabi. Minisita teyeetagisa kabangali budde buno zaki.
At this time, why should somebody import furniture from outside Uganda? Let us leave NRM to be in charge for another 36 years or more.
I really want to see a Uganda that believes in the rule of law. If you have a constitution in place, follow it to the letter. Don't change laws just because you want them to favor you.
Kuba njagala omanye nti obugagga bwonna Uganda bwe yeeyagaliramu buyita waffe ku ttaka lyaffe. Naye busoga mugidibaze.
How can a referral hospital refer you to a private clinic? The Uganda we want buli muntu ateekwa okumanya nti I am a stakeholder, nkwatibwako si kwesuulirayo gwa naggamba.
Uganda oyinza okukakana nga mwe mulina ba graduates aba university nga bangi okusinga Ebungereza. Mwe mufokasinga nnyo ku degree. Eri bo bafokasinga nnyo nti byensomye mbijeemu omulimu n'enkola.
We are dreaming of a Uganda where at a young age there is such a relationship between parent and son, parent and daughter, where the daughter can say this is what I want.
Uganda gye twagala empya tesobola kubeerawo nga tewali mateeka. Amateeka agakola.
The Uganda we want. Welcome to the program, The Uganda We Want. And this is episode 4 with Dr. Droti Asile James. He is a specialist chemistry at National Development Curriculum Center. And he's with us. He's sharing with us the kind of Uganda that he envisions, that he wants to see. And whatever he says, I beseech you, my dear viewers, to pick up something and we actually implement it. Let us not be just, listeners, enjoyers of the program, if the word is there in English, but let's do something. Let's do something. I think that is my theme. I copied it from one of my late mentors, Dr. Paul Chinchin, who passed on 2 years ago. He could always speak to me, don't sit down, Mulans, do something. Do something for God. Do something for your community. Do something for your country. Do something. Don't just sit down. Don't just sit back. And I think even as we have this program, the Uganda, we want to hear from such people to encourage us, and we don't just listen, but also be able to do something. Well, Doctor, in our last episode, you talked about good governance. Oh my goodness. Good thoughts right there. And I personally was encouraged, and I hope we are going to work on this issue of implementation. It seems it's really, 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 we should put more focus on it. Now, Doctor, we move on now in this episode. You said one of the hindrances, one of the barriers to have a good the barriers why we have a bad governance could be corruption. I want to hear from you. How can we achieve a corrupt-free Uganda? Because if I say nation, could be Rwanda, nation could be Kenya, but let me be really, really very, very specific. How can we achieve a corrupt-free Ugandan and Uganda?
Yeah, this is my thinking, and which could be the thinking of others. To have a corrupt-free Uganda, first of all, we need to have what we call as a value-based approach. We value what we want to do. For example, when the laws have been enacted, of what value is it to us? How can we make other people appreciate the value of what is being enacted? For example, if the budget has been passed and this budget is intended to achieve a goal, then we must appreciate that value. For example, we now have a very good program called PDM, where everybody is supposed to have a starting capital to start something for development at the grassroots. A very good program, a very good policy, but the people who are managing it do not value the people at the grassroots. Do you know that some people have never received that money?
Oh, I know very well, especially
and
from the Auditor General.
was meant to support people at the grassroots. The people who are managing this do not value the people who are supposed to receive this. Then until we remove that, then we will not be able to have a free, corrupt-free Uganda. So the value-based approach is what is required to get rid of corruption, so that every other person is sensitized to appreciate that it matters, and it's valuable to appreciate every other beneficiary of what services is intended for them, so that there's no impedance to what these people are going to get.
Value-based approach, who should implement it?
The value-based approach should now be implemented by, as I said, the line ministries. They're the ones who implement the resources, because they're the user ministries. So the user ministries should value the people who are, for whom they're responsible, so that they know we are given this, so we need to use it as intended. So
yes, Doctor.
That means because this is in the docket of Ministry of Ethics and Integrity, and they have
the one of corruption.
They have 10 good values there, 10 good values, beginning with the integrity, honesty, patriotism, hard work, respect. All these are values under the docket of Ministry of Ethics and Integrity. And it is actually one of the things we are translating into the curriculum, so that the children who go through this new curriculum acquire these values, so that with the time, hopefully, the population that has acquired these values will be big. So people should be encouraged to uphold the values that the country demands, because like any other community has values. So as a country, we have values, the ones I've enumerated. So these should be impressed, so that that if I overstep, then I'm going to offend or disadvantage another person because of my action. So that's what I mean as value-based approach. So people should embrace the values which have been propagated by Ministry of Ethics and Integrity, and now again in schools. So it should not only be at the lower secondary, every other level of education should embrace. As I said the other time, we have a big population, which is youth, and these youth should be, these values should be inculcated
in them,
in them, so that we do the good, we do what is required and appreciated by the whole population.
Yeah, Doctor, the way you're saying it, I'm trying to think a little bit different, maybe on the how we can do this. The way you're saying it, I see a ministry, let's say of ethics and integrity. It has got good values, as you said. But even starting with a ministry, I would love to see those values lived out. It seems they are written probably somewhere in the ministry, but it is becoming hard for those values to be seen outside.
Yeah, that's why I say it's translated into the curriculum, because that's where most of the youth live their life, and it's now fully embedded in the lower secondary. So this will trickle down to the primary and the others, and also to the higher levels, because this is where the bulk of the population is found. That is the youth. They're about 72% of the total population. So if we can get them on board, in addition to this, the value-based approach can be taken through the faith-based organizations, the churches, the mosques, the different faith-based organization can pick it up, so that it becomes part and parcel of the population, so that we appreciate our value as a country. And once we do that, I think the corruption will go, because you'll know why, you'll have respect for the next person. You'll be able to, instead of asking for a bribe, you'll work for yourself, because hard work is one of the values we want to promote in this country. So it's really enormous. The value-based approach will be the best, so that everybody will be fighting to acquire the values the country deserves. That is one way. And I think the next approach will be what we call as a compliance-based approach.
Compliance-based approach. One, we should embrace value-based approach if we want to fight this device of corruption. I was looking at the statistics here from Transparency International, 2023.
Yes.
Not so far away from
very
today.
recent.
Very recent. Corruption Perceptions Index. Uganda scored 26 on a scale from 0, meaning highly corrupt, to 100. Uganda scored 26, and when ranked by score, Uganda ranked 141 among 180 countries in the index, meaning we are highly corrupt to this extent that we are we are in 141st position. That are countries that are really
very sad.
Very, 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 very sad. And we need to fight so hard to make sure that we have a honest public sector. And you're saying, let us embrace, one, the value-based approach. Okay.
Then secondly, we need to embrace what we call as the compliance-based approach. You rightly said the legislature arm of the government enacts laws. And when these laws are enacted, they're supposed to be followed. And I know it cannot be followed 100%, but at least a good percentage of this should be followed. And how should it be followed? Again, the different entities implementing these laws should be the ones to make a follow-up, so that when every other person is compliant, is in agreement and is following these laws word for word, then we'll be able to get rid of corruption. Because one of the things is people are not compliant in following these laws. One good law is enacted. We gave an example of the environmental management bill concerning the Kavera, but still you find people are not compliant. So every other stakeholder should get involved, should become participatory in ensuring that these laws are followed. For example, if somebody is throwing out a bottle, a used bottle, through the car, what action are you taking? As the one who is an onlooker, I have always stopped somebody from throwing a bottle through the window of a bus, and this was a soldier. So I held his hand, and everybody got scared because I told him, you know what, this thing is going to cause soul degradation for the person whom you are throwing. Even if it is one bottle, who knows, other people may also throw and will cause a problem. Who have been throwing. So don't do it. I held his hand. I said, this bus has a garbage bin there. You throw it there. And I was direct talking to a soldier. Good enough, he was obedient and he listened to me.
UPDF soldier?
UPDF soldier.
Okay.
So you can see, it is a responsibility of all stakeholders, responsibility of every citizen to ensure that these laws are complied with. Otherwise, if we leave it at large, like our colleagues, the parliamentarians, you said they stop at enacting the law and the implementation becomes to whom it may concern. That's where we're going to have a problem. So every other citizen should be responsible to ensure that every other person is complying with the implementation of whatever service, whatever law is enacted for providing the appropriate services.
So if you say like that, Doctor, to me, it's communicating something like we as Ugandans, we have 100% accepted that corruption should be part of us. And everyone who tampers with the fighting corruption, we are fighting him, because talk about on the road, you're moving on the road. You find the policeman, he stops you, he starts to play his games. You as though you're like, supposed to be in Masaka on time. Afande, what do you need? What do you want? Sometimes it starts from the victim, and sometimes it starts from the other side of the enforcer. It's supposed to to enforce the law, and the way you're saying the compliance approach, I'm seeing a challenge there. How it can be implemented.
Yeah, this is where we can now say everyone should be the brother's keeper. So that you keep watch.
It shouldn't be like a Cain who said, my brother's keeper.
Yeah. Because now you have given a very live example. There are times somebody was saying, hey, the police in Uganda are very kind. They even talk to the drivers, they even bend to the drivers, even they greet the drivers. And when the drivers are greeting them with something in the hand.
Was he a visitor?
He was a visitor, a visitor from abroad. So the Ugandan policemen are very good. So they're even very kind. So, accepting something to be a bad thing to become a normal thing is where we are getting a challenge. And it's because of the first issue I've mentioned, the values not being there. So we call a vice a good thing. So bribe becomes normal. If you don't get, if you don't give, you don't get what you want. And if every other person behaved the same way and refused to give a bribe to the police, instead you report. Like one policeman one time stopped me and expected me, and it's true, we're driving very fast because we wanted to catch up with the program. And then we were stopped, and we got at a speed of 93, where we're supposed to be driving at 50 kilometers per hour.
Woo!
So he got us and said, please, this was your speed. Have you seen it? I said, yes, I've seen it. And I accept you are driving very fast because we want to catch up with the program. Said, we're giving you a receipt. Said, yes, you give us the receipt. So they expected me to say, give me something so that I don't write the receipt. I didn't bargain. So just give me the receipt. I'll pay because I know we have superseded the expected speed. He was hesitant. Said, please give me the receipt so that I can catch up with the event. Then this policeman said, now can't we talk? I said, what are we talking? Just give me the receipt.
You have already spoken.
If they're giving me a receipt, why would I now give you something? Are you going to receipt this money I give you? Are you going to take it to the central pool? No, because there's no receipt. So I refused to give, and he got annoyed and gave me the receipt.
Oh, but it's what you wanted.
It's what I wanted, but he was not happy. So if everybody,
because you don't know how to talk,
that's what I mean. Compliance. If something is put in place, let's behave the way it is. Like right now, you see at traffic lights. Traffic light, when you see green or red, it means don't move. It's not your turn to move. But you find because the traffic light becomes useless to the...
It's a road decoration.
Yeah, to these border users. For them, they're free to go when it is red. But the cars are not free to go when it is red. You see, which compliance is there? So if it is to be, if the laws...
And also, who told the border they're supposed to move when it is red? But they're supposed to go?
Because they're not punished.
Oh, yes.
They're not punished by the enforcers. And so, like, I've had an opportunity to be in Dar es Salaam. No border moves in Dar es Salaam city. If you say border in the city, it is that must be by an albino or a lame person. But the rest stop in the outskirts, and it is strictly followed. And it is strictly agreed that the rider of a border and the passenger must have a helmet. If you don't have, they confiscate the motorcycle, they take you to prison, and they don't give you back the motorcycle.
Oh, it is serious to that
serious
extent.
as that. But for us here, they take your motorcycle, they put it on the this 99 police vehicle. Then they move with it around
as you talk.
They
move with it around as you talk. So if you don't know how to talk, and have you noticed, doctor, that these borders who are not punished, when time comes for you who is in the car, it's red, it's green, you're supposed to go, but because these borders have been going when they're not supposed to go, you find congestion that you can't go, they are still in there, and you waste a lot of time. And again, it shows red, and you can't move. And at times you are in the middle of the road, and you have also to in the middle of the traffic light, and then you're supposed to go, but it's also wrong to do that.
Yeah. So that is lack of compliance.
Yeah.
And it leads to corruption. So once we comply to all these regulations, laws, and whatever, we'll do the right thing and we'll enjoy this country.
Yeah, doctor, in case it happens and you are in a room or in a position where you're supposed to come up, let's say, with penalties to corruption. Penalties to corruption. I want to hear from you the kind of penalties you can put forward for anyone found guilty of corruption.
Yeah, I think one, when the penalties are there and they come into enforcement.
We are like saying they are not there. They're supposed to come from you.
Okay. Yeah, whatever I would propose, first of all, will be non-selective.
Non-selective?
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
It will not be applied regardless of the people's statuses. So in other words, it will not.
There will be no big
applied,
fish, small fish.
Yeah, no small fish, no big fish. It should apply the same to everybody. And to me, if it will again depend on the categories. For example, if you are a public servant and you are found to be corrupt, definitely the first punishment will be to lose your job. You must be able to resign when you discover by yourself that I'm corrupt. So that should be the first thing. If I have the values needed by this country, and I know I've been accused for corruption, I must resign my position. First thing. Then two, if I don't resign my position, I should be made to lose my job.
There should be a body that makes you lose
your job.
And
when 2-3 people lose their job, the rest will learn a lesson.
Yeah, I think that is how that's the mandate that has been given to the Inspectorate of Government. But
the Inspectorate of Government sometimes, that's where I was saying, when I'm the one to propose and to be implemented, it should not be implemented selectively. Because the IGG sometimes does its thing selectively, whether we like it or not. They go for people who are not actually responsible. Because some of these corruption issues are not from the grassroots. They are from the top. So the people from the top are left, the ones at the bottom are the ones who are punished. So that's why I'm saying the one I would propose should be applied uniformly without any selection. No preferential discharge. Like in chemistry, we talk about preferential discharge in electrolysis. So there should be no preferential implementation of the law. You have found this, you don't take action by yourself, the arm entitled to implement, to enforce, should come in and remove you. Because you're already rotten. Why would you be there still to cause? It's like tomatoes. When you put a rotten tomato among good tomatoes, they also rot. So that one should be removed so that the rest don't rot.
Oh, so we had one rotten tomato and we never bothered to get rid of it. Now it seems the entire system is rotten.
Yes.
Yeah, it's something that we don't want to hear, but I think that's the truth.
I think that's the only solution, and that's the only punishment.
How about if he loses his job and you also put him on, is it life imprisonment? Because do we still support the death penalty in
death penalties? I think he's not there, but
life imprisonment.
That will be enough, because that will be like punishing him twice.
Losing the job. Because
instead, what we can do is what else could be done is, after losing the job, probably we can confiscate the property which he or she has acquired out of
the corruption, job, or the job he has been doing.
Just the corruption, the money. Or in this time, in this case, I know it is the money. The money which is used for acquiring a property, which is an equivalent of money which is being embezzled. That should be confiscated. So you lose your job, the money you used for acquiring that property should also be confiscated. Probably the others were done when he or she had not become corrupt. So that one will leave it. Otherwise, it will be too much a punishment. And, in terms of being human, it will be very, very inhuman to do that.
Well, I think in our enforcement of the laws, we have put in something, what you said, that thing of humanity. Now, the humanity is really doing us more harm than good in fighting and combating this problem.
One time, the head of state said something, and I also, agreed somehow with him, because he
corruption.
He put in the element of being humane, because the IGG was saying there's going to be, trying to ascertain how people got their property, and especially the corrupt people. But he said the corrupt people, so long as they don't go and use the money outside the country, they use it within the country.
They were in Kololo.
That's what I'm saying. The element of being human also comes in, and we need to take, we need to take that into consideration, because these are also human beings. They have families.
Yeah, that will bring in some, kind of compromise as well at the end.
Yes,
the moment it comes in.
Really, it will not be compromising, because they will have received some form of punishment. Because, they will have received some form of, although you may not now be able to confidently say, yes, this property confiscated is from this money or from another source of money. You may not know. But of course, when you know the value of the amount of money that has been embezzled, then you relate it to an equivalent property. Then there you can easily know, yes, this is what I can be able to confiscate. Although in most cases, such people who embezzle government funds don't have only one property. They have several of them. So if IGG is investigating and find, yes, this is the amount of money that has been swindled, and you look at the assets, and then you say, this asset is an equivalent of the money that was already, swindled, then the two, that asset can be confiscated and becomes government property.
Yeah.
Because you may confiscate it, and then it again becomes somebody's property, which is again another form of corruption.
Another form of corruption, yeah.
So really, measures should be put in place so that this money is recovered properly and goes back to the treasury, to the pool where it is intended to be used. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Doctor, on that issue of corruption. Our viewers, Dr. Droti is trying to encourage us and also sharing his perspective. If we want to fight corruption, one, we should embrace the value-based approach. He talked about it. And secondly, he has talked about the compliance approach. Will also help us to fight corruption and have a corrupt-free Uganda and a corrupt-free Ugandan, because that's what we are looking for. Finally, doctors, we are about to sign out. I don't know if you have anything else. I wanted to ask you, have you ever heard of a statement in line with everything in Uganda is politicized? How? Is that the Uganda that we need, where everything is politicized, really? And if that's so, how, in your view, what do you think is the problem, and how can we deal with that problem?
I think that, to me, that is a very unfortunate statement, because yes, when a government is in place, the government that is in place has its manifesto, and it is it is to be achieved. So for the manifesto or for the plans to be achieved, there must be appropriate guidance to achieving these plans for the sitting government. And so there's no way that they will sit back and see that these plans they have put in place are not achieved. And so when the politicians and so on, of course, one of the ways to achieve the plans, the manifesto of a government, is through the parliamentarians, because they're the ones who take the message back to cause awareness of what is taking place. And so when they go back,
you mean both opposition and in ruling?
Definitely, because the opposition are also, they're also for Ugandans. When it comes to the voters, there's nothing like saying these voters are on opposition or all of us are Ugandans. And we're supposed to get the same services. Any sitting government will plan for the different services that we're supposed to get, and supposed to be ideally equally shared. That's why the issue of equity is key, and inclusiveness, so that everybody has an opportunity to benefit from what the government plans. And so the statement that everything in this country is politicized, I think to me is I've said unfortunate, because if we are to get the right services, then who would be the one to tell the people that yes, this to cause them to have an awareness that this is what actually you deserve? And if it is the politicians doing it, then it will be inappropriate to say everything is politicized, because those are the politicians who are taking back to the grassroots, to their people, what the government wants and how they should benefit from the plans of the government. Like when it came to the issue of the PDM was not only for one group of people, it was for everybody. It was for Ugandans at the grassroots.
And their target of 39, they never said 39 who are not under our government or under our party.
It was for everybody. So that statement would be a disadvantage. Some people who take it very seriously, and they are on the opposition side, because it will disadvantage them. Say, this is for those. And yet when they say everything is politicized, who are doing the politicization? So even those who are on the opposition are politicians. Those who are in the government are politicians. But ultimately they go back and make the population aware of their rights, of their privileges, through the services that the government is providing. So that statement, yes, it may be said, but the implication, I think, should be taken differently. It should not be taken literally to mean that, yes, it is the government, sitting government that is doing that. Because they're doing that because they have the plan. They have the manifesto to be achieved. So they have to take it back to the grassroots. And that means politicization. So there's nothing wrong with saying that. So it should be taken positively, not literally.
Well, summarize for us the kind of Uganda that you want to see, and we'll be out of here.
I think in my view, the Uganda we want to see, the Uganda that will be enjoyed by everybody, should be that Uganda which must have a balanced growth. A balanced growth which is sustainable. And a country which will grow and will be able to have a sustainable growth through education, through technology, embracing technology, through good governance and transparent governance, and also probably a Uganda that must be shared equally and including everybody. In other words, having an inclusively and having an inclusive approach so that every other person benefits equally. That should be the country of across different sectors. So that is the country of the kind of Uganda we want. And once we get that kind of Uganda, I think we'll enjoy it, because it will be growing because of the kind of population we have today. So through the education that we have, these youth will embrace the different skills. They will embrace the different technologies, and of course harnessing the natural resources that we have, putting them into good use, will make this country grow and it becomes beneficial to all of us. And even then, above all, once we grow economically by by using these different sectors I've talked about, will make us to become also entrepreneurial in this region, so that whatever we do will be able to earn for us resources and finances, so that we keep growing economically.
Wow.
That is the kind of Uganda we would like to have.
Wow. Thank you so much, Dr. Droti Asile James, for sharing with us the kind of Uganda that you envision. Well, my fellow viewers and listeners, you've heard it from Dr. Droti Asile James. I ask you, what are you going to do to ensure that we achieve the kind of Uganda that we want? My name is Mulanzi Robert. Till we meet again, for now we say bye-bye. The Uganda we want. So mu Uganda gye twagala mu lutalo luno olw'okulwanyisa obulabbayo obukenuzi nze kyempita obuvundu, munna Uganda alina okuba nga yeenyigiramu.
Ffenna twenyigire mu lutalo.
Ate abalala tebasomye kuzimba wabula bayize okuzimba.
Uganda gye twagala okulaba ng'enguudo zonna nkole nungi, public transport nga weeri.
Kati eno gavumenti eriwo erina akabonero ka Lucifer. Buli kyotunulako mu Uganda kiriko oxygen. Either babika amawulire malungi oba mawulire mabi. Minisita teyeetagisa kabangali budde buno zaki.
At this time, why should somebody import furniture from outside Uganda? Let us leave NRM to be in charge for another 36 years or more.
I really want to see a Uganda that believes in the rule of law. If you have a constitution in place, follow it to the letter. Don't change laws just because you want them to favor you.
Kuba njagala omanye nti obugagga bwonna Uganda bwe yeeyagaliramu buyita waffe ku ttaka lyaffe. Naye Busoga mugidibaze.
How can a referral hospital refer you to a private clinic? The Uganda we want, buli muntu ateekwa okumanya nti I am a stakeholder, nkwatibwako, si kwesuulirayo gwa naggamba.
Uganda oyinza okukakana nga mwe muyina bagraduates aba university nga bangi okusinga e Bungereza. Mwe mufokasinga nnyo ku degree. Eri bo bafokasinga nnyo nti byensomye mbijeemu omulimu n'enkola.
We are dreaming of a Uganda where at a young age there is such a relationship between parent and son, parent and daughter, where the daughter can say, this is what I want.
Uganda gye twagala empya tesobola kubeerawo nga tewali mateeka. Amateeka agakola.
The Uganda we want. Wano ku Dream TV